Welcome to Love in Life, a guide to a positive mindset. My aim is to show you that the key to a happier and more positive mind is to love the life you have. We'll look at tips and tools you can use to improve your mindset, and the best thing is, we'll all be on this journey together. Hello, and welcome to episode 3. I cannot believe I'm on episode 3 already. And do you know what? I cannot wait until I get the hang of this a bit more. I am what you call a technophobe. Honestly, I've just spent the last probably 20 minutes trying to work out why I can't get my voice to pick up, and it's because I had the bloody microphone on mute. So I'm sure this will all get easier, and I'm hoping to get some music. I have downloaded some music, like a music intro. So if this podcast had, at the beginning of this podcast episode, if it had a music intro, then obviously that means I worked it out. Because do you know what? For the life of me, I cannot work it out. I think I'm going to have to call in the brains, which is my husband, I'm afraid to say, to help me work it out. So hopefully this podcast had a musical intro. Now, believe it or not, today I don't need to warn you about the dogs because they're not in here with me today. My husband's home, working from home today. He's normally in the office on Tuesdays, which is when I record, for that reason. So they follow him around, when he's not here, they love me. When he is here, they literally don't even look at me, honestly. It's like they don't even realise I'm here. So, they're in with him. I've kicked him out of the room and he's sat on the sofa doing his work and his meetings whilst I am in our office recording. So I'm on my own today and, in the room on my own. No dogs snoring, no farts. So, hopefully it should be a nice quiet one apart from me bashing the microphone as usual. Now, I just wanted to say, again, sorry if you're getting bored with this. I'm not, because I love looking at it, but looking at who has been listening to my podcast. So I can't see individual people. It doesn't tell me names or addresses or anything like that, so don't panic. But it tells me the cities that people have downloaded my podcast from. So the majority are from the UK, which is obviously where I am. And the majority are actually in my hometown of Bristol. And then we have Sydney, we have Croydon, we have Bedford, we have Miami and Key West in Florida, Reading, Mississippi, Worcester, Harefield, London, Wrexham, Swindon. So hello to everybody. I really hope that these people have tuned in again. I don't know about you, but personally, I prefer a binge. So I'm the same with Netflix as well. If I'm listening to a podcast, I don't tend to listen to just one. I don't tend to tune into people every week, really. I should be encouraging you to tune in every week, obviously, but which obviously I do. But me personally, I don't know why, but I don't tune in weekly to the podcasts that I listen to. I tend to listen to like 4 or 5 in a go. So I'm just imagining 10 weeks down the line. So what are we now? Week 3. In say 10 weeks time, I'm imagining somebody listening to like 10 of my podcasts in a row. So if that's you, hello and enjoy your binge. So this week I had my show all planned out. I was going to be talking about the basics of law of attraction because I've asked for feedback from people, and the people that have some of the people that have given me feedback have asked for just a little intro into the law of attraction and the basics of it and how I use it in my everyday life. So I had that episode mostly planned out, but something came over me this morning, and it was when I was listening to another podcast actually, and it reminded me of how I felt last week when I when two of my really important people gave me feedback on last week's episode. So obviously last week I discussed how to become more positive if you're naturally quite negative. And I would just like to say neither of these two people are naturally negative people. I would say they're definitely positive people. One of these people messaged me to say she'd been triggered by something that I mentioned in my podcast. So with her permission, I would actually just like to discuss what it means to be triggered by something. Now, I'm not a medical professional, obviously, so I'm not necessarily talking about trauma triggers here or things that really severely affect your mental health. Although maybe these tips could help you, it's obviously worth giving it a go. I'm talking more in the sense of when something is said and it brings something up for you. So if it makes you stop in your tracks and makes you reflect on how you are being perceived or how you perceive somebody else, or if it just in general brings up a bit of a shock emotion for you. It might sometimes bring up an emotional experience from the past, sometimes something that you've even forgotten about. If you're triggered, you might feel shocked or defensive or critical. And as I said, obviously, you might have a shock emotional change. So the best thing you can do when you feel like you've been triggered by something is to realise what this has brought up for you. So in the particular case that I'm talking about, this person who is very, very close to me, this person actually texted me and said, I've just realised what a drain I must be to be around, or something along those lines. And quite honestly, I don't feel like that. And I feel quite the opposite, actually, as I've said to her. But if this brings up something up for you, then it's obviously something you need to deal with. Now, the fact that I've said to this person, I don't feel like they've been a drain, I don't feel like they've been negative, that's not going to make a difference to them, because the fact that this has triggered that for them means that they have some inner work to do. So what inner work can we do when we have been triggered? Obviously, I think the first thing that is obviously very, very important is to realise what emotion has this triggered for you. So, for example, has it triggered feelings of shame, of anger, of guilt, or of sadness? And then ask ourselves the question, what experience are these emotions linked to? If you can link these emotions to an experience in the past, then you can start the process of healing from this experience. And a big part of healing is talking about things. So I think once we get to the point where we're able to talk about past experiences that are triggered by strong, sometimes negative emotions, we're at the point where we can start to actually deal with it and move on from it. So something that's come up for me, probably only within the last year, is a feeling of shame for the time between ending an old relationship, in between that time and meeting my husband. And, I wasn't doing anything wrong. I was doing what 19-year-olds do, go out and do. But I carried a lot of shame around with me for years, considering my husband and I have been together 20 years this year. It's something that I've only started dealing with in the last year. That's a long time for that shame to be carried around with me. So I can only tell you how freeing that has been to actually voice those experiences with him and connect the emotions that I felt with it. I didn't realise that I was feeling shame all these years. But it's only from talking these things through and realizing that the past is in the past. The only way is forward. So forgiving ourselves for things that have happened in the past and accepting, not necessarily even forgiving, because sometimes there's nothing to be forgiven. It's just accepting that things happen, and it's down to you whether these things happen again or not. You're in control of your future. And I think the sooner that you can link these emotions with these experiences, the sooner you're going to connect the dots and actually be able to move on from them, accept them, and forgive yourself for them. So what is the difference between being triggered and a block? So we quite often hear this term, when we're learning about mindset, you hear of a mindset block or a money block. And something that I work on quite a lot, I've been working on quite a lot for the last year, is money blocks. We all have them. So I just want to discuss the difference between a trigger and a block. So obviously, triggers are, when emotions are brought up, whereas a block is when something stops you doing something. So a past memory or a past feeling stops you from moving forward. So something, again, I'm going to share a block that's come up for me only recently. And that is, we've just recently booked a holiday. And my husband is really successful in his job. The last 2 years has just completely spiraled for him in a good way, and he's in a financial position. I say we're in a this is my block coming up now. We're in a financial position where we can pay for things outright, which is something we've never been able to do before. And he paid for our holiday outright. We paid for our holiday outright. I'm so sorry. This is like my biggest money block. So, this is something I can definitely speak from experience. So I was writing in my gratitude journal, and I was being thankful for the fact that we've been able to pay for the holiday outright. And I just hit a wall. I was in my head. I couldn't move on from it. And I was like, what is stopping me? I couldn't think about anything else. What is stopping me from moving on from this? And I realised that one of my biggest money blocks is the fact that my husband earns really, really good money. And he's amazing, by the way. He has never made me feel that it's his money. It's our money. We both do an amazing job at what we do. We both support each other, and, we are a team. But something that comes up for me over and over again is that he has been the one earning money for, well, probably since the whole time that we've been together, really. He's financially supported me the whole way through. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But I think deep down, if I'm honest with myself, I want to earn money to support us as well. And I can keep having these money blocks come up. I can keep having these things that, I just push aside and think, well, it's okay because we support each other. And, at the end of the day, it comes down to being honest with yourself. And like I said, I'm truly honest with myself, and I want to earn good money. I want to buy us holidays. I want to, pay towards the bills, and I want to actually contribute towards those things. Blimey, what a day of revelations for me. So that is something that regularly comes up for me, and I do let it hold me back. I do tell myself I could never earn as much money as as he earns. And really, what good comes out of telling myself something like that? Absolutely nothing. So something that I've got really good at doing over the last year is, as you can see, I've had quite a journey over the last year. Something that I've got really good at doing is writing down all these blocks that come up as and when they come up. So I've got a sheet of paper that in my pad that I'll go back to and add to it whenever I need to. And anything that comes up, I will ask myself what evidence I've got to prove this. So, for example, obviously, my block that I can never earn as much money as my husband does. What evidence have I got to suggest that is ever true? Obviously, anything could happen. Anything could happen from this day forward. So, by writing these things down and recognizing them and proving that they're absolutely not true, helps propel you forward. So, I've got really big plans for my future business. And if I'm completely honest, I do think I'm a born entrepreneur at heart. Whenever I find something that I love doing, I think, how can I monetize this? How can I make money from it? How can I make it into a business? So dispelling these untrue stories that I tell myself and coupling that with the passion and drive that I have to be successful, that's only going to propel me in one direction. If I wasn't being honest with myself and recognizing what I'm telling myself that is holding me back, then what way do you think that would go? So triggers and blocks are actually very similar in the sense that something comes up for you and it usually brings up an emotion that you have to deal with. So the exercise that I do with the money blocks that come up for me, this can be done with any area of your life, whether it's relationships, family, finances, career, anything that comes up for you that you realise is holding you back. Write it down, journal it out, and accept that these things are in the past. Forgive whoever you need to forgive, whether it's yourself or somebody else, and use the feelings that it produces to propel you forward to achieve the things that you want to achieve. Prove that person wrong, whether something that comes up for you is something that you've thought about yourself, somebody else has said about you. Prove them wrong. So I hope you can see that it's okay to be triggered by something. It's okay to have a block, but you have to do something with it. You have to do the work that goes with it, and use it as a catalyst to achieve something that you want to achieve. At this point, I would just like to remind you that, as I said earlier, I am not a medical professional, and if you have had any kind of traumatic experience that you've never dealt with, then I would highly recommend you seeing a medical professional or a counsellor of some sort. Don't try and deal with traumatic experiences on your own. So at the beginning, I told you that there were two people who gave me feedback who are really important to me. And obviously, the first person I told you about told me what triggered her, but she also told me how much she's enjoying the podcast, and that she, that did trigger something in her, but she is using that to move on from it. So that's amazing. The other person that I was referring to texted me whilst she was listening to the podcast, the second episode last week, and said that it was really speaking to her soul. And I cannot tell you the emotion that I felt when I read both of those feedback messages. It made me realise why I'm doing this, truly realise why I'm doing it. I've already said that I'm doing this because I want more people to realise the positivity that they've got in their lives. But these two people in particular have been a massive, massive part in my journey so far. And it's made me realise that I'm doing it for them, not for their approval, but to make them proud. And I really hope I'm doing that so far, guys. And I just want to say that this is dedicated to you, and you know who you are. Oh, wow. I feel quite emotional, actually. So what I want to say is, when there is something that you want to achieve in life, whatever it is, whether it's financial, career, family, realise what's holding you back, deal with that, and realise why you want to do it, and use that to your advantage. I think that actually really nicely brings me in line with next week's episode, which, as I said, I've already planned. It's going to be given an overview of the basics of law of attraction, and you'll be able to see how I use it in my everyday life to achieve the things that I want to achieve, to have achieved the things I have achieved. And I think it'll follow on nicely from the positive mindset that I've been talking about already. So what I'd like you to do in between now and next week is have a think about what blocks you have. So every time you feel one of your thoughts is holding you back, write it down. If you have any memories that come up that trigger unhelpful thoughts or stories about yourself or your abilities, write them down. You could spend 10 minutes doing this, you could spend half an hour doing this. I promise you, if you sit down with nothing around you, you will be surprised how much you managed to write on that list. Things that you didn't even dream things that you didn't even think you'd remember. I've had memories come up from, when I was younger, things that I can't believe I've never, they must be so deep rooted into my subconscious that I didn't even realise I had those memories. So things come up and you have to spend time really focusing and allow yourself to run away with your thoughts and just write down everything that comes up for you. And then when you've got your list, go through each thing one at a time and allow yourself to accept what has happened, accept that the past is in the past, forgive whoever you need to forgive, and simply move on. You might need to do this 3 or 4 times to actually move on from it, but honestly, it's until you do it, I don't think you realise what a powerful tool this is. So that's your homework for the week. Let me know how you get on. I love to hear feedback and hear how you've got on with putting things into place. So please do keep me updated. Don't forget that I have a Facebook group and where you can interact with other like-minded people. I have an Instagram page which I post reels and post tips and post pictures of my dogs and my family. So if you want to see the little snorting doggies that you quite often hear in the background, then head over to my Instagram page. I actually posted a really, really cute photo of them the other day. So head over and follow me and you'll be able to see who the culprits are. My Facebook group, just to remind you, is A Life with Law of Attraction. And my Instagram page is LisaDavidge_LOA. See, I'm getting better at remembering those, aren't I? But I will put them obviously into the show notes, so as you can just click on the links if you want to. Yeah, that's it from me this week. And I really hope you have a good week. I hope you let me know how you get on with homework. I hope you do find the time to write down some of your blocks, and I really hope that you find it a useful thing to do. So please do let me know. And I'm going to go now because I am getting tired. I really do find that this really tires me out. It sounds like it's only 25 minutes long, but let me tell you, it takes a lot bloody longer to record a podcast episode. So yeah, I'm knackered and I've got to make tea yet. So I'm going to go and do that. And I will see you guys next week for the much awaited introduction into the law of attraction. See you then. Bye.